Hey, what is up everybody? Blades here to bring us another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be going ahead and talking about Tomoko and is she really needed for the Haru team, as well as everything else that she really has to go over. So if you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you guys are interested into any extracurricular or little games that I end up playing or anything like that, be sure to check out my Twitch. I'll have it down below in the comment section as well. Where we're going to be playing not only P5X, we're going to be playing like Sonic Cross Worlds, where I would like to invite a lot of you guys to be playing Dragon Ball Genshin Squadra, which is another game that I'm going to be playing competitively as well, and some other games like Metaphor. So look forward to that type of stuff here. I want to get some more variety out. I might get a VOD channel up later on, and we'll try to get some of those streams on YouTube as well, so you guys are able to watch them, unless I want to put them on this channel, but we'll see. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So we're going to be talking about Smoko today, and this is mainly going to be because she's coming out very soon. Now, a lot of the questions I've been getting for this character is, really is she needed for Haru? And to be honest, it's kind of like a 50-50 question, because Haru herself is a very good character, and I'll explain a little bit about her at the very end, so be sure to look at that timestamp later on. But she's a very interesting character that when it comes down to Smoko, sometimes you may need her, sometimes you may not. As a TLDR, I'm just straight up say it like this: if you want to have a very optimal set, you're gonna need her. If you don't want to have an optimal set and you don't mind changing your cards, you won't need her at all. But for those people who want to know the actual specifics, of course, let's get straight into it. Smoko herself is really just a healer who has a lot of helpful things for elemental accuracy, or anything such as like effect hit rates, called EHR inside of DTW, KR, and CN clients. Now, this is more than likely helping you out hitting your elements in general. So if you're trying to hit a winded, if you're trying to get like a shock, that's usually what she's increasing. Well, for Haru herself, Haru does need this type of increase for her damage overall. Haru herself is going to actually scale off of effect hit rate or elemental accuracy, and this is going to allow her to deal a lot more damage. Well, Moko is what's called no sinner or anything to this. She really does excel in giving this out to people quite often, and it's mainly going to be with her skill too. Now, since you guys are not able to read this, of course, I got you guys real quick, and this is going to be using lafel.net. If you guys don't use lafel.net, be sure to go ahead and do so. It is very much so a useful website, and it helps out a ton when it comes down to just learning characters kits. But with the skill 2 here, which is called Please Enjoy, it restores not only just a little bit of her attack and HP to one ally, well, HP based on her attack to one ally, but it increases their attack by 14.6% and their EHR, or the elemental accuracy, by 58.6%. This gives you an extra damage dealt bonus by 30%, and you're able to inflict one extra spark for each hit of damage for 2 whole turns. Now, the second part of that doesn't really matter. The good part is you get an attack increase, you get a damage dealt increase, and the big one is a EHR increase. If we go ahead and take a good look at our girl, our girl Haru, she is heavily going off. She needs EHR quite a lot. This is going to be her whole deal. As you can see, her main stat that she wants in substats are going to be elemental accuracy, and even one of her main options for main stats could actually be a elemental accuracy card, depending on the team that you're using. Just by going ahead and doing this, it does help out our Haru quite a lot. And so being able to have a character who just gives that out willy-nilly can be very good for the opponent, or at least not the opponent. Gosh, I've been playing too many what's it called, the player versus player games, but could be very helpful for yourself here. So Moko excels with that one skill, which does last quite often, especially for your damage phase, so you really don't have to worry about that. But the other part that makes Moko so good, it's going to be that skill 3. The skill 3 itself is also helping out Haru quite a lot, because then you're able to do your skill 3 skill 2 combo, which is going to allow Haru to get the most out of her whole kit. If we take a look at the skill 3, which is Midnight Memory, this deals 61% attack SI damage to the enemy, or to all enemies here, and increases their damage taken by 19.5%. This also allows you to get the spark, which really isn't too important in this aspect of things, seeing all it's helping her out is a follow-up. So really the important part is we get an increased damage taken by 19.5%, which is really good for this third skill, seeing it is an AoE type attack, allowing all of the enemies to have this debuff, meaning Haru, when it comes down to her attacking phase, she's able to get all that damage on off. That's just for the skill 3, so you can see how skill 3 and skill 2 really mesh together. Now, of course, the passives are also going to be helping you out a lot. When it comes down to Haru, she does need a little bit of a healer because her team can be somewhat squishy at first, right? We're usually going to be having Cord, which Cord you of course can make a very, very tanky as well because she needs like base stats such as attack, HP, defense. You can just give her things that can kind of keep her sustained herself, so you don't have to worry about her too much. But her team can be a little bit annoyingly squishy if you don't have anyone defending her, such as Haru probably could die early or something of that. So the reason why we have this healer is also keeping us alive, is allowing us to get that extra damage increase and getting that heavily amount of EHR. The good part about this is that's really all this character needs. You don't need anything else with this, nothing else really affects this, and just by basic having just Smoko in the team, you're always going to have that EHR at the back of your head. This character's always going to have this here, and you don't really have to worry about ever swapping anything out because there's not really a need to swap anything out. As for the set here, if you wanted to, you would end up using, of course, the Trust and Prosperity set, and this is just for the most basics. There, of course, are these two that you could end up using later down the line. I have never swapped my sets. I just never found the need to do so. I mean, if you're doing maybe Guild Boss or something, you may need the creation in this one set here. But really, I think the Trust and Prosperity set is going to be the best one for you guys, because then you're also being able to charge up your highlight and you're reducing your damage overall, which is very, very helpful, while also increasing your party members' damage, which you will need for Haru's team. Now, one of the other questions I've gotten is, for Haru's team specifically, do I need this 5-star weapon? Who's going to be from Smoko? Well, this is where things get a little bit complicated. You don't truly need this weapon here, because this weapon doesn't help out all too much. In fact, you very well can use the regular Moko's 5-star weapons instead of using what's it called, her 5-star weapons, because her 5-star weapons themselves, these goofy looking things here, they're mainly helping out the healing. Okay, that's all you really need them for. They're trying to make her heal as much as possible and making sure you're able to get the extra skill multipliers that you can on the foes that you're attacking, which is pretty darn decent. But you don't truly need these weapons. Even if you wanted to, you could just very well stick with the 4-star weapon and you'll have the healing effect that you need and the attack percentage you do need in order to heal even better, which is one of her skills, scaling off that attack. So technically these 5-star weapons aren't needed. So some of you guys have posed the question is, can you use Moko's 5-star weapon? And this is the 4-star Moko's 5-star weapon. And yes, you very well can. Now, there are a few people on TW who do use this weapon, and it really just comes down to as a stat stick. And the main reasoning for this is mainly because, one, we're getting a stack stick, right? No matter what, a 5-star weapon is better than just having a 4-star weapon. Seeing our basic stats are going to be better. But the other part is, it's because we have the increased attack percent by 30%, which is always nice. Once again, one of her skills does scale off of having that attack percentage, so it's good to actually go ahead and use this. But the other part is, it does technically work for her too. If you can see the third skill or the third line right here, whenever you do use a skill on the ally, which we're going to be buffing, of course, we increase our target's attack by 21% for 2 whole turns. So instead of getting that extra healing and you want a little bit more DPS out of your Haru, you can have this weapon on here, increase your own attack, which is going to help out your healing, while also increasing your ally who you're buffing's attack as well. This is pretty darn interesting because there's not many 5-star weapons that do work on other characters, especially as their copies. So they're usually just wholehearted stat sticks, but this one's a little bit different, seeing that how, I want to say, not vague, well, I guess you could say vague, how basic and vague that this weapon's buffs really are, they can apply for this character as well. But normally you wouldn't be using it because usually it just wouldn't go for the whole character set. But in this option, it really does go for the character set. Overall here, you're going to be getting a lot of things out of this character. In fact, you're actually able to get some innate stats as well, because I do know that what's it called, Smoko herself does apply a little bit of EHR. So just by having her in general on your team, you're able to then also use a little bit extra, or at least change your cards around a little bit more than you normally would. It's kind of different, in which is another reason why this has been brought up quite often. And this is just going to be because of the character here. Just by having Smoko in your team here, not only are you able to change your revelations cards from normal, but by actually getting the ascensions that you need, you're then able to, of course, enjoy yourself a little bit more. Just by using the skill 2 with Smoko, that's an easy 58.6% of effect hit rate that you're getting. Then of course, if you end up having the Astro Dagger by the time they come out, which is going to be this dagger around here, you end up getting even more what's called EHR in general, which can be from a 9% all the way up to a 18%, as you can see right here, which is very, very helpful as well. So there are other ways to get this EHR. So by having Smoko, you're less restrained on your EHR gates when it comes down to Haru. You can easily get those gates, so meaning you can use your substats or your main stats in different ways. We go ahead and take it. So I started yapping, so I had to cut that short. But the one thing I wanted to actually say was, that's Tomoko. Is she needed for this part of the video? I would say no, she's not really needed. You can very well use her to get the most optimal build out of Haru. That is definitely the most optimal thing to do. Though you don't need her in the future because her team does start to change. So with this part of the video out the way, let's go ahead and talk about the second part of the video, which is going to be focused wholly on Haru. So as I did say before, there are different ways to get EHR rates. One of them I showed being the Astral Dagger. The other one, of course, is just by boosting up your characters, getting their ascension level, aka just hitting their breakthrough to maybe like level 80 here, or like those type of aspects. Every last one of those aspects will be some sort of way to get EHR with Haru here. And so if we go ahead and talk about it for a little bit here, one of our first things that I want to talk about is EHR comes from the EHR card that we do have, right? We currently are using a crit damage one, and this is on the off chance that I'm using Tomoko and her team. If I'm not using Tomoko and the team, then of course I use the EHR card, so then you're able to hit that effect hit rate breakpoint or the elemental accuracy breakpoint, and that would be very easy to go ahead and do so as a free to play with a 0R0 on her weapon. If you do not have the weapon whatsoever, things are going to get really, really difficult for you, because you will need to have an extra, what's it called, extra EHR option, right? So for example, your EHR sources, one of those sources are just going to be regular ascension. Just by ascending, you're immediately getting 35% just from that. Well, the other part is going to be from your passive 2. The passive 2 that Haru actually does have right here gives you an 18% of effect hit rate. You guys should be able to see this on my screen in about 2 seconds because I forgot to put it up here. But the passive 2 of Haru herself, if we go ahead and go to her character, because I forgot to pull that up as well, ends up giving you effect hit rate. If we look at it, it's called Instigate. And every time we get a customization, we permanently gain 1 whole stack of great heat. And by getting 2 of these stacks, or at least 1 of these stacks, you're able to get 18% of effect hit rate while also getting 18% of effect res. This is elemental accuracy and global, so just keep along with me here. But that's immediately giving you another gate of EHR that you're able to have. The next one is, of course, if you're using Smoko, that's 58.6% of EHR that we get just from her skill 2. Then around 9 through 18% from the Astro Dagger, meaning you only need around 47.4 or 56.4% what is it called, EHR from other sources. Now that will have you in a great situation. You're able to get those amounts of EHR from other situations or other sources. You're looking really good when it comes down to using Smoko. Now on the off chance if you don't use Smoko, you do of course get the Ascension passive, you get the Astral passive, you get the passive 2 from our Haru right here. But the problem is you're now going to be missing out on that 58.6% of effect hit rate. That's now going to be a nice 69% that you're going to need, up to 78% effect hit rate that you're going to need off bat, which is going to require a card switch. So with Moko, you can run a crit damage card easily. Though without her, you will need to have an effect hit rate card or an elemental accuracy card, or else you're not going to get anywhere here, which is where the problem does arise for most people. But does this affect Haru's way of playing drastically? I actually say no, not really, because even with Haru being bound to this, you can still get a lot of damage off. Now, I don't have the best of cards when it comes down to EHR. Like, this is probably the best one I could possibly use here. So we're going to do a little bit of a comparison here. We're going to try one without Haru or without Moko here. And so our stats are looking something like this, where we now have 3,691 attack. We have 122 EHR, and that's going to be great to already have immediately here. And then we have around 229 crit damage with 22% crit rate. So we're going to get into a battle. I'm going to show you guys the team exactly that I'm using before we get into the battle, and you guys can see the comparison with her without having Moko, and then with her having Moko. So let's get straight into it. All right, so to simulate what you would use if you did not have, of course, Smoko, it would be something like this. The only thing that's a little bit changeable here is going to be our Navi, because you very well could use Rico as well, seeing that Rico does give off some nice buffs, just in general for nice little buffs and knocking down the enemy, while also taking down the defense decrease, or at least the enemy's defense, which is really, really nice as well. The only problem with this is you're not getting the EHR out of that matter. So when you use Okyon, we do of course get an attack buff as well as an EHR buff, which is always nice to get if you do need those extra EHR sources. So we're going to be using OG Tomoko because with her skill 2, if I'm right here, it does give out EHR as well. So you are able to get some EHR out of this character. It's going to be very, very helpful, depending of course on your set effect, or at least depending on how you're doing things, right? With Moko, whenever she uses her skill 2, we get an attack increase, while also being able to get around 15% elemental accuracy for 2 whole turns, which is something that's really nice. The only downside about this is you do need 2 green leaves. So if you don't have those 2 green leaves, you won't be able to use the skill and get these extra, what is it called? These extra effects here. But we would do this in the same way here. So we're going to be looking at the score amount that we get before, of course, we get vanquished here. And I'm not going to use my ult immediately because, of course, not everyone's going to have a cord that's A6. I'm going to do everything as if I have A1 cord here, so you guys are able to see exactly what I'm doing. So first things first, since we have Wonder going first immediately, you don't buff this round. You attack with Shiva, use your skill 1, boom. This is how you end up starting it. So we got the 6k, that's okay, nothing too crazy here. Then since we need our 2 stacks, which I don't, yes, we do have 5 magical leaf stacks, we will go ahead and buff this round. Now, this is just something that you're immediately going to do, get the buffs all statted here. We have our skill 2 immediately, getting up our EHR also. So if we take a look at her EHR amount, I said you needed around, I think it was without Smoko, we need around 140 EHR. Well, with the EHR that we currently have, we're at 192. So you guys can see how much we're actually capping out on our EHR amount. We do not need to have a ton of this, meaning some of our EHR can actually be taken away. We just got 15% from Moko, and we actually had a decent bit of our EHR taken away. What's it called? A decent bit of our EHR contributed due to having the weapon and due to actually having her built with a EHR card. Some of this now can be altered, or some of my other substats can be altered in order to make sure we're not overcapping, which is always great to see. Just keep that in mind. It's fairly easy to hit this, so if you don't have Summer Moko, you're not in the worst of trouble here. So let's go ahead and now do this as if we have a S or A1 cord. We're gonna go ahead and give her our buff, making sure our next one. Now, if you have A1 Haru, she's always gonna do this hit. She's always gonna do this first, meaning you don't have to do it yourself. And that is probably the most prevalent thing that I do recommend for a lot of you guys, is you don't really want to have to, what's it called? Use that skill 1. You don't wanna have to have that extra turn taken up. And it just allows you to have this set up earlier. So what you would end up doing on this phase, you would go ahead and use your skill 3, and this immediately gives you another gunshot for the next phase, allowing to be your damage phase. So we're currently sitting around 84% health. So if we can live through this, which I'm hoping we can, we're gonna go ahead, pop off with our actual Okyon here, and if everyone can live, which is the key question, if everyone can live here, we should be looking good. But by using our Okyon immediately here, we can check out our EHR stat even more so, see how much we're really sitting on, which did boost up our attack. But by boosting her again, we're at 211 EHR. This tells you even more so how little you really need Smoko. But if you do have her, you know, it's going to be very easy to, of course, hit those stats and be able to monopolize the amount of stuff that you can get with the Revelation card set. Now, on this card set, let's say we have the time to do what we really want to do. I just want to attack because at this point it's going to allow us to actually get some damage off, or at least see how much damage we really can do. So we're going to go ahead, give her a little bit of a buff. I want to give her a rebellion one, and we're going to do this the exact same way for the other team here. So this time there's not really anything we can do with this character. I guess I'll just use a skill 1. You guys are going to see the same what's it called, damage markers anyways. And then right here I'm just going to pop off the ult because we're not going to be able to attack with our Haru. 9 times out of 10 we're going to die anyways. But you guys kind of see the score amount that we're looking at. which is 354k with 138, which is always nice to have. Then technically, if you do this again with the cord here being the skill 3, we're hitting this here as well. Let's go ahead and see how much we deal. A nice amount. Now this is just straight up off of 700, and it's gonna get the follow-up, and we didn't end up dying, so I guess we can just show out the rest of the things here. You guys already see the damage marker. Well, if we use our gun for the first hit, boom, we're able to deal that much damage, which is pretty darn decent. And then if we keep going, and we're just going to do this the same way that we've been doing this, we used our rebellion, right? So that's 3 whole turns. We used our skill 1 with Shiva. We technically can go ahead and use this again. We don't have to. You can go ahead and also use Cert to get off a debuff. If we're doing this in a 3-turn fashion, I guess we can go ahead and just use our Cert. So let's go ahead and do this here. Get the debuff on off, and we're going to continue doing this as if we're doing a normal run, right? Nothing's going to be too changed. You guys already see the EHR amount. You're seeing the amount of damage she really can do, and then we're going to be able to show off what really can be done once we decide to switch this around a little bit here. So for our skill 1, go ahead and pop this on off. Nothing too crazy here. We're still doing this as if we have an A1 cord, and you guys are still seeing the amount of damage that can be done. So now we have this all out the way. Let's go ahead and use our skill 1, because we need to make sure we get our bullets on back. We need at least 3 whole bullets, or at least 2 whole bullets in general, before we do anything too crazy. Now we have our highlight once again here. I'm trying to think if I want to use it. To be honest, it's not our damage round, but I guess we're not really doing this in a yeah, you know what, we're not going to use it here. We'll try to do this in a formal way, or at least a nice way, so you guys get the most of the damage that we can get here. So go ahead and pop this on off. We already have used our skill 2, but that's only going to last 1 whole extra round. So we're just going to go ahead and buff again. Let's buff twice in a row. Get this on out, and then this time we're going to use our skill 2 again to get everything set up so we can actually use our skill 3 for her when it comes down that time. Now I think we didn't even get that off because, of course, boom, it was only 1 whole time. So as you can see, 30 mil, not that bad, pretty decent, and you already can see the amount of damage that we can get. So I'm gonna put this down in my notepad so you guys can actually see the score difference here, or actually be able to know the score difference. So we hit around this amount here, and boom, so we automatically got that here. Now we're going to check it out with Smoko in the team and with the card change. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. All right, so going ahead and doing the same setup, this time just with Smoko and changing our Navi. We're going to be using, of course, Rico, because she's the next best thing to use instead of Phoebe. Most people are not going to have Phoebe fully duped out. So of course, I think having Rico being the actual control person would be great. That way you're getting your buffs and your debuffs. And since we don't need as much EHR, we have no use of using Okeon. So let's go ahead and do this here. Now with this little change, you guys are going to see a little bit more damage pump out here, as long as we're able to do our rotations the same way. So we're going to try this the same dang way here, where everyone's getting their attacks on in. We're only going to attack with Haru 1 whole time, so we should be more than enough, or at least have more than enough for this whole run. So let's go ahead and pop this off with our skill 2. And if you guys immediately take a little bit of a look-see on our EHR, once we get to this point here, we're looking pretty all right? We don't need too much EHR in this, and we can make up for the EHR lack with just being able to just deal damage. So right now we're at 166, but our difference is we have a lot more crit rate and crit damage that we're able to kind of spread out with. Our damage is a little bit lower as well, but that's mainly just because we don't have as much EHR this time, and we don't really need it either. So if we go ahead and use our skill 3, because this is our first turn, this gets us set up so we can start dealing a lot more damage on our next turn here. So here we get, of course, our sparks off. We get all this lovely things, which is nerfing the enemy, and that's always a good thing to see here as well. But he's going to give us a little bit of a love tap, and we should be good from here. So first turn, immediately we're going to use our Navi, use our skill 1, and this is going to take down their defense, allowing us to start getting ready for that amazing damage that we should be able to proc off. Then, of course, since we're doing this, we need to get our rebellion on, getting up our crit rate, which is always going to be great, as well as that crit damage that we do need. And then right before, we're going to go ahead and pop off with our skill 3. Now skill 3, we can do whatever we really want here, and instead of having to pop off our Haru's thing off bat, we don't really have to do that. Well, we are going to go ahead and do so just to make sure you guys got a little bit of a good look-see on the damage comparison. So let's pop it off first. Boom, got the hit off, which gave us around a good amount. Plus we got the sparks off, which is great, nerfing the enemy. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to do this once again, allowing us to then use her ult once again and prepare for the next round. Now everyone's nerfed, everyone's at least losing a lot of HP, and since we ended up doing this and we have the intel stacks that we do need, as it dies here, which of course it does end up dying here, we're then able to come back around and deal even more damage. So now that we do this here, we can use our gun, shoot this on out, and then boom, it deals some crazy amount of damage as well. So this is all we need to do. We only need to attack one time with our Haru. We don't need to attack anymore. Technicality wise, you would want to do that second attack, but to try to keep this in a fair balanced way, or a fair way to show the comparison, I do have to of course do this the exact same way for each group, or else it wouldn't be a fair, analysis here. So let's go ahead and use our skill 2 again. We're once again sitting at a decent amount of our EHR. We don't need anything too heavy here. As you guys can really see, we're still at that 184 mark. We were at 166, but we're now at 184, which is more than enough, as you guys are able to see as well. Then of course, we're going to use our skill 1. Boom, dealing some decent damage as well here. And I think that's perfectly all we need to do. We don't really need to change anyone else. No one else really has to do much here, as we never actually hit with this. So actually, no, we did do our skill 1 again, because we got one whole thing. We just weren't able to, of course, go back in. So let's use our skill 1 once again here. And that allowed us to get some decent damage on off here. And then that's it. That's all we got to do. Can't do anything else. Nothing else can be changed here. And we're just going to do this as if, hey, we think we have some extra turns. We have some extra room to go ahead and use some things, but in reality, we don't. So let's go ahead and pop this off, use our skill 1. And then we're going to use our skill 3, just like our normal little thing, our normal little rotation. And for this one, we're then going to use our skill 2 buff, and that's just going to end off this whole run. So if we go ahead and do a comparison of these scores here, which you guys are immediately going to know how this goes, I can read out the first score that we ended up getting. So let's go ahead and go through all this stuff here. Our first score was 30 mil with 431k, and additional with the 3 digits at the end being 828. While this one was 36 mil 120 with 788. This is immediately a huge difference when it comes down to the amount of points factors that we ended up having. So just going ahead and checking out both the point factors, and then let's go ahead and put them in a calculator here so you guys can know the the score difference here. We have our 36 mil right here sitting there, 120 being 788, and then we have our other one being 30 mil. See here, the 30 mil, and we minus this the same way here. We are having a score difference of about 5.6 mil immediately, almost 5.7 mil. And that's by doing the same rotation here, but the only difference is now that we have Smoko, we're able to take more advantage over our skill set, which is always great to do. So now that you guys know those ones, let's go ahead and end out the rest of the video. All right, so I do apologize once again for this video being on the longer side, but hopefully you guys understand the worth of having a Smoko and the worth of not having her. She does pretty decent either way, whether you have Haru with her or not, but there is an obvious difference in score that you guys would end up being able to check out rather than not having her at all. So in all honesty, you don't really need this character. Haru does more than enough damage without her. So if you do want that optimal setup and you want to be optimal as much as possible for that damage, then you do want to of course have that as well. But now we've finished all of this, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, have a wonderful day and peace on out.